What up, players? It's WarbossTae up in this mode. Today we're going to be painting up a Black Knight for the Vampire Count's army for the Warhammer Fantasy Battles range. So this is how far we're getting today. We're taking it from a pure black undercoat like this up to here, and let me show you the paints that we're going to be using so you can follow along at home. And hopefully this is all in order of how I'm doing it, so if you want to line your paints up. Stegadon Scale Green is first, followed by Balthazar Gold, and then I think I did Rackheart Flesh after that, followed by Lead Belcher for the silvers, and then we highlighted up the gold with Rune Lord Brass. Actually, before I did the Rune Lord Brass, I did the vines and the ivy. I would suggest waiting to do the vines and the ivy until the very end, though. So Steel Legion Drab for the vines, and the leaves are going to be painted Castellan Green. And what else? Oh yeah, Bugman's Glow for any remaining horse flesh that still happens to be on it, and Mephiston Red for the reins, and Nagaroth Night for the little flash of purple. So this is how far we get. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to get into the washes. And yeah, don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that stuff if you are not already subscribed. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Alright, players, who is ready to paint up a Vampire Count's Black Knight model to that standard? I am! Alright, Igor is patiently waited for this, as I'm sure many of you, some of you, one or two of you out there has as well, and so we're gonna get started. First thing I like to do is, after you build your model, base it, spray coat it with some primer. You actually, before you even spray your model, you make sure that all of the mold lines are cleaned off. In models like skeletons and skeletal horses, I've noticed that the line going down the bottom of the center of the legs is usually very prominent because there's so much detail. Mold lines tend to be pretty prevalent, I guess. So make sure you clean that off before you spray prime, and that way the black primer will go on pretty nicely. If you want to do a white primer, I would suggest, if you have white primer, I would suggest holding off on using white primer unless you're doing one of these guys, your Hex Wraith, because with that we're going to be doing a lot more with washes and stuff rather than painting on like we're going to be doing for this. So, enough talking, let's get to painting, shall we? Step 1, Stegadon Scale Green. In this step, what we're going to be doing is building up from the black. The great thing about using a matte primer, I think Chaos Black Primer from Games Workshop is pretty glossy, so we don't want to do that. Excuse me while I set up my wet palette here. I'm reusing an old parchment paper. The great thing about it is that once your wet palette dries, just if your parchment paper isn't covered with paint splotches, just reuse it. Stick that sucker right back on, and boom, instant paint palette. Okay, sorry, what was I saying? No idea. I have no idea. We're gonna take our Stegadon Scale Green, and somebody asked me how much I thinned down my paints on one of my previous videos. So I just put, this is right from the pot, I put the Stegadon Scale Green onto my palette, and then I just kind of move it around, and I want to say that I use maybe half to a third as much water, but I'm really just eyeballing it, you know, because you can't tell how much water is going into it. But the consistency that I like is to where if I pull it out from the puddle, it is kind of like, it's not thick, it doesn't clump up. But then you don't want it too watery, because if you get it too watery, then when you spread it out, it does this effect where it just kind of spreads and then dries and pulls to the center, as water will tend to do on that kind of surface. It's going to kind of show you what it's going to look like on the model once you start painting it up on the model. Alright, clear some paint out of the way. So, when we're tackling, I have enough light? When we're tackling cloth, you don't want to show an obvious line of paint along the edges. So what I like to do is just kind of feed it along the sides like that, and instead of doing like one long stroke down the folds, I like to do just little feathers, build it up in feathers like that. For those of you who have it, the old How to Paint Citadel Miniatures book, under the article for the Night Goblins, has the highlights for the Night Goblins' robes done with a mixture of Regal Blue and Chaos Black. And I think you get this kind of dark blue highlights. And then they say to highlight that up with like shadow gray, but I never really liked that style. I was more... I remember buying that book when it first came out. Not when it first came out. When I first got back into painting, and I walked into my store that I always go to, Other Realms, it's called, and I said, I want to paint up some orcs and goblins, because that's what I used to play in middle school, so where are they? And they had this big, the old Battalion box set, and I was like, wow, when did they make Night Goblins that look like that? The last time I put a Night Goblin together, it came in the, I think, 4th edition boxed set, and it was basically all put together. All you had to do was glue it to the base. And the Night Goblin, the only thing that made it a Night Goblin was that it had a hood on its head. Like it was wearing, I think it was wearing like shorts. You could see his little goblin chicken legs peeking out. And I was like, when I saw the new kits, I thought, oh my goodness, these guys are great. Why did I ever leave the hobby? Oh, that's right, I was in college. I was in high school first, and then painting up little plastic monster men wasn't viable. So glad I got back into it though. Hey, if I didn't get back into it, if I just kept going, if I was just like, Other Realms, used to come here when I was a kid. If I just kept walking and I didn't pop in, then wouldn't have this channel. I wouldn't have met all of you awesome people out there, and things would be a lot different. So, I'm not loading up my brush too much, but I am trying to get a good amount of paint on the tip, so that I can just kind of do some nice lining down the folds. What you might notice is that when there are very straight folds, straight and very distinct, then I won't feather too much. But if there's a fold like this one over here, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. If there's a fold like this one over here, Igor, steady the camera. Sorry, Master, I'm just so excited. Then we want to feather it so that it kind of blends in nicely. The great thing about the wet palette, which I love about it, is that as long as there's a little bit of water on there, you get to keep painting with it. If I hadn't done a wet palette, if I just put this on a napkin or onto the parchment paper without the wet palette, then it would have been long dried by now. But I just keep adding a little bit more water, and it activates the paint, makes it easy to paint with. I haven't opened my paint pot up once yet again. It's still the same little dab of paint that I showed you. And see, when you use a wet palette, that is really all you need. Get good brush control, everything kind of seamlessly works together. Don't forget the sleeves. If I was smart, I would have started with the bone, but that's okay. We'll do it now. Step number 2, we're gonna take rack art flesh. It ain't no Deneb stone, but it's gonna do. So Demons of Chaos come out tomorrow. If you remember my Herald, Tzeentch Herald on disc, my Tzeentch Sorcerer, I like to get into my demonettes. I like to get into some good old fashioned demon painting every now and then. Ogre Ninja Steve said he would find me some of those kits before they release tomorrow, so I can unbox them for you all ahead of schedule. And I said, Ogre Ninja Steve, that is awesome. Okay, I don't need my fine-tipped Scepter 2 brush right now, so I'm going to switch to a different one. Hopefully one that isn't ugly and repulsive. That's okay. I don't... man, that's another thing. That's how you know I'll never be more than just a casual painter on YouTube. I'm never gonna be able to join the ranks of, like, you know, Les from Awesome Paint Job or some of the other big painters out there, like Girl Painting, and I'm never gonna be the same caliber as them because I just take horrible care of my brushes. Just kind of dip them in water, and like I don't use any paint cleaner, and I really should buy some because they don't really sell it at either of the gaming stores that I go to, so it's kind of a moot point for me, and I'm like, out of sight, out of mind, I'm just gonna wash them. But that's why I always have to buy new brushes. It's like I could just save so much money if I just clean my brushes more often, but look how terrible they are. And it really shows on the models. I really gotta get better about painting, cleaning my brushes. Yeah, so Demons. Wow. Fantasy gets the Soul Grinder now? Okay. Like, aesthetically, that's kind of jarring to me. Although I feel like, you know, if this is kind of what they did to reboot the Zombie Dragon, you know, they put the advanced rules for the vampire counts a couple months before the new Codex came out, or the new Army book. Codex is for 40k, Army book is for fantasy. Then maybe, well definitely, Soul Grinders are going to be used in the next edition of the Chaos Demons book, but maybe the Demons might be not that far off. That would be cool. I mean, the new models look pretty cool. The new Nurglings, the new Plague Bearers. Everybody's kind of, or everybody that I've talked to in my local gaming store, which admittedly so far has only been 2 people, but I've been like, so what do you guys think of the new Plague Bearers? And they're like, they look different from the metal ones. We don't really like them because they don't look the same. And I was like, but how long haven't you guys been the very one that have been begging for plastic Plague Bearers, and the metal ones are just so out of touch and just not good. They're like, well, but like, oh, you guys just cannot be happy with anything that you get. You want to make sure you get this hip bone for the horse back here. Some people might not notice it, but as a painter, I do. So I always paint back there. You got to, man. Some people look for those things. How did he paint the horse butt? He didn't. Unsubscribe. Your horse might have a rib cage, or just some bony or meaty ligaments hanging to the rib cage structure. Whatever your horse has, you paint the bone with rack art flesh, and then we'll paint the skin a different color in just a little while. So here's a rib cage. I'm just gonna hit it with my rack art flesh. Okay, if you're working with the shield arm and you've already glued it like I did, and you just need to hit the hands, people will forgive you if you hadn't painted all the way back to the skeleton arm, because it's hard to get it in there, and most of us like to glue our models together before we paint. So unless you're doing a monster, which sub-assemblies just make so much more sense, and you can do that. You'll notice that some of your horse faces, your horse heads, also have some skin ligaments to them. So you want to leave those open. I've noticed also that this model, the neck of the horse should be a skin color. So I'm just going to paint it right now with rack art flesh, and then when we do our washes, that's how we'll paint different effects for the neck to make it look like flesh rather than bone. Yeah, that's a good idea for the rib cage too. I'm just going to do that for the rib cage rather than paint it a flesh color. Yeah, so that's easy. That makes it a lot easier. All you have to do is paint anything that was a part of the horse when it was alive in rack art flesh, and then anything that is a part of the armor, just leave it black for now. I'm gonna get behind the eye sockets. That's a part that's always easy to miss. The bottom of the jawbone, two halves of the jawbone. You don't have to paint the insides if you don't want to. So I don't. And then the head. So your model at this point should look like this. Let's do a little bit more before we wrap up today, okay? Let's do some of the armor, base coats at least. You're gonna take your Balthazar Gold and you're gonna paint the horse barding, as well as any of the bronze accents. It's going to be bronze. If you've noticed, you've got on your horse armor you've got like leaves and vines and stuff, just paint them up now. For now, it's okay. Sometimes it's just more important to get the base coats on and then fix the details later, and this is one of those times, I think. Oh, I love this model. It's got like a whole bunch of ivy and vines growing on it. That's gonna look so cool when it's painted up. So you'll see that your Balthazar gold is really, really bright, and that is, it's okay. I'm gonna go all the way up to the seat. If your skeleton, if your Black Knight is wearing chainmail on the skirt, then you can go gold. If your skeleton is wearing scale, like a scale mail skirt, then you want to go silver, so that you can paint the scale mail gold instead. It's just using a bunch of contrasting colors, different contrasting colors. What a beautiful sculpt. I keep thinking about how awesome this is gonna look once it's all painted up. Okay, you also want to paint the shield. And you also want to paint up the horse's barding on his head. A lot of the skeleton's armor is also going to be embroidered in gold, and we will wait on that for now. Let this gold dry and get some silver on this model, and then we will do the accents then. I also like to get this little, whatever this is, on the teeth. This one I will paint the inside of. And voila! Let's do a little bit of the silver before we go. Then we'll have a good chunk of our model painted. I'm just going back over with Abaddon Black some of these areas that have the gold on them on the black cloth. Okay, where was I? Silver. So you want to take your lead belcher or your bolt gunmetal, and both of these are really good paints. Let's start with the lance. Yeah, so without any of my usual music playing, I kind of feel like you guys are out there are either jamming to your own tunes on your iPod or your iTunes on your computer, or you're just listening to me in complete silence. And that's kind of creepy. Ooh, look at these vines on the helmet, cool. Since we're gonna do trim on the helmet, I'm gonna do silver horns, because bone-colored horns on a helmet on a skeleton warrior to me is kind of silly. It's like pigeons who eat fried chicken when you throw it at them. I love that this skeleton has long hair. This was actually built onto the torso of this model, and I remember seeing it when I put the helmet, the head on, and I was like, what the? Oh, that's... Whoops. I thought, whoa, that's really cool. To finish that last sentence. So now I'm just taking some silver, painting in the chainmail, doing a little bit of dry brush technique. So what I mean by that is that I have wiped off most of the paint, and now I'm just brushing it across over the surface of it rather than stabbing the paint straight forward like I did right there, which is why these 3 little links are kind of muddled with paint now. But I like dry brushing for skeletons. It's a good technique when you've got so much. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of the gold base coat trim, and then we will finish for today. Actually, let's get into, maybe we should do washes. We will end with washes. So most of my models, when they are ornate, like these Black Knights are, I like to paint the trim in gold. When everything else is in silver, it makes a nice contrast. The great thing about it is that we haven't done any washes or anything yet, so everything is still pretty flat looking, which means that if you make a mistake, like I'm doing a whole bunch of, you just go right back over. For the breastplate, I like to do gold as on the designs. Some nice cool claw design here on the front. And then for the shoulder blade as well. Anytime you see like a band of the material, it just adds a little bit of variety. You know, you don't want your model all silver. It's not interesting. Hey, there we go. Now to clean that up, we just take some of our lead belcher or bolt gun metal again, and we just cover up the mistakes. Cover up the mistakes. I don't know if we have enough yet to wash. Might not. Okay, so we're gonna take the Fiston Red. This is gonna be the color of the reins. Just like that. One side, on the other side. I feel like how I've completely abandoned my poor wet palette. I talk so much about it all the time, and then I just try to rush through my models and end up not using it nearly as much as I should be. There. There's the red. Okay, what else? Let's do more. Let's keep him with black hair. Ooh, I don't know, should we do like... Oops! Sorry, I was saying that I think I'm gonna keep him with black hair. I think it looks cooler. Alright. Next. As an homage to their Sylvanian heritage, of which red and purple are the main colors, we're gonna take some Nagaroth Night and paint up this little thing here. This is gonna look pretty cool as a spot color, I think. Not all of these knights have it, and I want red to really be predominant, but then the purple to be a nice little flash as well. And it's kind of like, if you remember my how to paint the skeleton tutorial, I kind of did the same thing where I added a little flash of purple to go along with the red and the black. Okay, next thing, we're gonna paint up the skin of the horse. For any pieces of skin that are still on, I decided, yeah, we are gonna go with some different colored skin. Even when we get to the washes, it's just gonna help a little bit more. Now, some of your horses' necks have, let me show you the difference between this, where there's still a little bit of cartilage, and this horse's neck is only vertebrae. Can you see? So this one we're going to paint the skin on. I'm looking at all of my models now with Tamiya clear red in the back of my mind, thinking which models it would go good with, and I think in the fantasy range, I think, you know, that it would need to be vampire counts. Even more so than chaos, because vampire counts draw from that horror movie, gothic horror kind of motif. All of those motifs, like the Wolfman with the Vargeist and the Vargulf. Vampires, obviously, skeletons, Night of the Living Dead draws from like the Romero movies with the zombies and the skeletons, and I just think, you know, blood and gore is more suited to that, whereas chaos can kind of almost be lumped into that fantasy, more that like horror movie for fantasy kind of thing. So although you could use it, especially with Khorne, I think if I had to choose one army over the other to slather Tamiya blood effects on, would be my vampire counts. Okay. So it looks like the last thing left to do before we get to the washes is the vines and the leaves. So the colors we're going to use are Steel Legion Drab for the vines and Castellan Green for the leaves. Let's do Castellan Green first, because actually, should we even do this now or just wait? Yeah. I don't remember in my test model if I did this before or after the washes. I'll just do it now, and if we need to do it again later, we'll do it again. So I'm looking for the leaves. I paint them all green, just like that. And does he have any on his helmet? I love this model. There's one hanging from his helmet. Oh my gosh, so cool. No wonder he's so mad. He's got leaves in his hair. Up in his helmet, up in his business. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, you know what? I can do it now because we're gonna change the gold in just a second. You might notice also in front of the reins that I painted this area a nice dark color, dark brown. I used Rhinox brown for that. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it or not, so I just haven't mentioned it, but I think it looks okay. It's a nice, it gives a nice distinction from the red. So if you guys want to go ahead and paint that, you could do that. You could also use Mornfang brown or Dryad bark. Anything that's like a nice dark brown will work really nicely. Like this kind of reminds me of Khemri brown almost. It's a nice pale brown. It's not too dark. Contrasts really well with the gold and soon to be the bronze. The Bronze James. Okay. A little bit more for the helmet, then we can... Yeah, you know what, I really... Oh, and I wasn't even thinking, and there goes that. Just realized... That's okay, I can fix that. I just realized that probably should have waited till after we changed it over from this gold to the dull bronze. Because now I'm gonna have to paint around all of this. Oh, good going, Warboss. Ah, no wonder you don't have any golden demons. Alright, I'm gonna stop beating myself up. So, the color we're gonna use for the bronze is... It's called Runelord Brass. And it is just fantastic color. Really dulls down this bright orangey Balthazar gold. It's this beautiful color, and once we hit it with the black, it's gonna look even better. But we need that Balthazar gold as a base coat because Runelord Brass is so thin and the pigment is so spread out that it wouldn't be able to cover all by itself. Having that Balthazar gold underneath is really key to making this look as good as it does. See, we can just almost even dry brush. Oh my gosh! We can just almost dry brush this onto the shield. Igor, please do your job. Please, Igor. What do I pay you for? Absolutely nothing! Oh. Yes, but... Here, master, I made you a piece of toast. Thank you, Igor. Would there happen to be any cat in this toast? Perchance? Oh no, master. I wouldn't dream of putting anything cat or cat byproduct related into any of the food that I fix for you. Alright. That's good, because when you fed me those chocolate cat cakes for my birthday, I was not feeling good after. Oh no, master, that is all in the past. Absolutely no cat or cat byproducts whatsoever in this piece of specially made Igor toast. Alright. Well, thank you, Igor. It's very kind of you to fix me up a little snack for lunch. I should let you know, though, that I have been experimenting with putting mice and rat products into my cooking. Igor! Do, 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 do. Hey guys, I just went and, I didn't film, but all I did was go over the armor detail with the gold, and I also cleaned up some bits. You might notice that when you're painting the armor, that sometimes the metallic paint will get on the cloth underneath. It's always best to take care of that before you do the washes. So we're gonna actually hold off on doing the washes till the next episode, just because it's gonna take a little bit of a while to get on, and we're already running a little bit long for this video. But this is all your base coats, all done. Completely done, right? Yes? Is it? Yeah. Pretty much all done. So I'm really happy with it, and it's really doesn't take that long to paint one of these guys up. So if you are doing batch painting style, or if you just want to do like all base coats on one guy, jump to the next guy, do all base coats, then either way, I think you're gonna have fun, because this is like I said, it's a beautiful model to paint. It's a lot of fun, and it should just get even more fun once we have the washes and everything else. Everything looks better with washes. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!